Thanks for joining me for another reading through the Bible in a chronological study. Today we're in Job chapter 14 in the Christian Standard Bible. Anyone born of woman is short of days and full of trouble. He blossoms like a flower, then withers. He flees like a shadow and does not last. Do you really take notice of one like this? Will you bring me into judgment against you? Who can produce something pure from what is impure? No one. Since a person's days are determined, and the days and the number of his months depend on you, and since you have set limits he cannot pass, look away from him and let him rest, so that he can enjoy his day like a hired worker. There is hope for a tree. It is cut down, it will sprout again, and its shoots will not die. If its roots grow old in the ground and its stump starts to die in the soil, the scent of water makes it thrive and produce twigs like a sapling. But a person dies and fades away. He breathes his last. Where is he? As water disappears from a lake and a river becomes parched and dry, so people lie down never to rise again. They will not wake up until the heavens are no more. They will not stir from their sleep. If only you would hide me in Sheol and conceal me until your anger passes. If only you would appoint a time for me and then remember me. When a person dies, will he come back to life? If so, I would wait all the days of my struggle until my relief comes. You would call and I would answer you. You would long for the work of your hands. For then you would count my steps, but would not take note of my sin. My rebellion would be sealed up in a bag, and you would cover over my iniquity. But as a mountain collapses and crumbles, and a rock is dislodged from its place, as water wears away stones and torrents wash away the soil from the land, so you destroy a man's hope. You completely overpower him, and he passes on. You change his appearance and send him away. If his sons receive honor, he does not know it. If they become insignificant, he's unaware. He feels only the pain of his own body and mourns only for himself. Chapter 15. Then Eliphaz the Temanite replied, Does a wise man answer with empty counsel, or fill himself with hot east wind? Should he argue with useless talk or with words that serve no good purpose? But you even undermine the fear of God and hinder meditation before him. Your iniquity teaches you what to say, and you choose the language of the crafty. Your own mouth condemns you, not I. Your own lips testify against you. Were you the first human ever born? Or were you brought forth before the hills? Do you listen in on the counsel of God, or have a monopoly on wisdom? What do you know that we don't? What do you understand that is not clear to us? Both the gray-haired and the elderly are with us, older than your father. Are God's consolations not enough for you, even the words that deal gently with you? Why has your heart misled you? And why do your eyes flash as you turn your anger against God and allow such words to leave your mouth? What is a mere human that he should be pure? Or one born of a woman that he should be righteous? If God puts no trust in his holy ones, and the heavens are not pure in his sight, how much less one who is revolting and corrupt, who drinks injustice like water? Listen to me, and I will inform you. I will describe what I have seen, what the wise have declared and not concealed, that come from their ancestors, to whom alone the land was given when no foreigner passed among them. A wicked person writhes in pains all his days, throughout the number of years reserved for the ruthless. Dreadful sounds fill his ears. When he is at peace, a robber attacks him. He doesn't believe he will return from darkness. He is destined for the sword. He wanders about for food, asking, "Where is it?" He knows the day of darkness is at hand. Trouble and distress terrify him, overwhelming him like a king prepared for battle. For he has stretched out his hand against God and has arrogantly opposed the Almighty. He rushes headlong at him with his thick, studded shields. Though his face is covered with fat and his waistline bulges with it, he will dwell in ruined cities, in abandoned houses, destined to become piles of rubble. He will no longer be rich, his wealth will not endure, his possessions will not increase in the land. He will not escape from this darkness. Flames will wither his shoots, and by the breath of God's mouth he will depart. Let him not trust in worthless things, being led astray, for what he gets in exchange will prove worthless. It will be accomplished before his time, and his branch will not flourish. He will be like a vine that drops its unripe grapes, and like an olive tree that sheds its blossoms. For the company of the godless will have no children, and fire will consume the tents of those who offer bribes. They conceive trouble and give birth to evil. Their womb prepares deception. And then Job answers, chapter 16. I have heard many things like these. You are all miserable comforters. Is there no end to your empty words? What provokes you that you continue testifying? If you were in my place, I could also talk like you. I could string words together against you and shake my head at you. Instead, I would encourage you with my mouth, and the consolation from my lips would bring relief. If I speak, my suffering is not relieved. And if I hold back, does any of it ever leave? Surely he has now exhausted me. And you have devastated my entire family. You have shriveled me up. It has become a witness. My frailty rises up against me and testifies to my face. His anger tears at me and he harasses me. He gnashes his teeth at me. My enemy pierces me with his eyes. They open their mouths against me and strike my cheeks with contempt. They join themselves together against me. God hands me over to the unjust. He throws me to the wicked. I was at ease, but he shattered me. He seized me by the scruff of the neck and smashed me to pieces. He set me up as his target. His archers surround me. He pierces my kidneys without mercy and pours my bile on the ground. He breaks through my defenses again and again. He charges at me like a warrior. I have sewn sackcloth over my skin. I have buried my strength in the dust. My face has grown red with weeping, and darkness covers my eyes. Although my hands are free from violence and my prayer is pure. Earth, do not cover my blood. May my cry for help find no resting place. Even now my witness is in heaven, and my advocate is in the heights. My friends scoff at me as I weep before God. I wish that someone might argue for a man with God, just as anyone would for a friend. For only a few years will pass before I go the way of no return. Now our reading kind of splits the end of the first cycle, the beginning of what's called the second cycle. So understanding that cyclically, we've read from two different parts, the end of the first into the second. But perhaps the poetic poem of chapter 14 is part of the connection to Eliphaz's response in chapter 15. But notice how Job in chapter 14 pains over his circumstances. And he pleads that God would just let him go to the grave. Let me go to Sheol, cover me up in Sheol, and when it's all over, then I will have not had to endure what I am now. He's just looking for an escape. And the irony is that his friends have come to provide him consolation, and Eliphaz just lays it out there and says, you even undermine the fear of God and hinder meditation before him. Your iniquity teaches you what to say, and you choose the language of the crafty. Your own mouth condemns you. That's why Job will reply in chapter 16, you are all miserable comforters. And like we've said in earlier readings, this is a great demonstrative, poetic way of showing how friends aren't helping each other. All the friends needed to do was listen. They didn't need to judge Job, and they didn't need to explain God. And that's what our difficulty is. Often we try to explain what God is doing when we really have no idea, any more than these friends did. But Job wanted to understand. And because the friends couldn't believe that a God would allow evil to fall upon his good people, they just assumed Job then must be evil. And Job said, there's just no end to your empty words. They don't mean anything to me. And at last he just says, God hands me over to the unjust. He throws me to the wicked. I was at ease, but he shattered me. Job says, God, you've done this to me. And he says, I don't want anyone to miss my petition. Earth, don't silence my voice. Heaven, be my witness and my advocate, he says, is in the heights. He still comes back to God is the answer to his problem. God will be the advocate for every problem he's experiencing. And in a prophetic way, Job is almost saying what we know about Christ, that the answer to all of our sorrows, the answer to all of our sadnesses, the answer to all of our griefs, God will convey to the world and to us through Christ, through the death, burial, and resurrection of a hope that will never disappoint. Because God will raise us up. Job is waiting for that story to come true. Join me again for another reading tomorrow through the book of Job. We'll be finishing Job in this reading, and thanks for joining me.